What is on your mind? 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 What is on your What is on your mind? 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 What is on your mind?
Hello guys, welcome back to our Cities Skylines region of Coniferia. In today's episode we are kicking off with finally developing this very centrally located downtown lot right in the heart of the city of Pine Harbour. If you guys remember, then what I want to say is several weeks ago, is actually a couple of months ago, we had a vote for the development of this area. I asked you guys for suggestions and you came up with lots of nice ones, and managed to narrow it down to 3 really cool suggestions for the votes. And as you guys can see on the screenshot that should pop up now, this suggestion with a tall shopping mall won the vote. I guess we haven't done much since that vote was decided, other than demolishing the existing park and turning it into a construction site. But today we're finally developing this. I'm using assets from Smiley's modern condo collection. I can, as you guys can see, if I search mixed use, I can filter them out. And the reason I really like these is that they allow for a cool sense of customization due to the assets being split up into the upper tiers and then these surface level tiers that you can use. So they are like the base that you can place, and then you can sort of build on top. If you combine this way of splitting up the assets with the usage of Move It and a little later on the procedural objects mod as well, it allows for a pretty great deal of customization. So as you can see here, we are starting to work with adding some of the top layers on top of this building or this development, and it's a lot more residential looking than an actual high-rise shopping mall. But we'll be fixing that up by adding this office building as well. This additional high-rise I'll try to sort of bake into the building so that it's gonna be a true mixed-use development. I didn't want to go completely commercial or shopping for this lot, because we still have a ton of residential demand that I'm having a really hard time satisfying. So being able to add this quite nice looking high-rise, which contains I think about 80 households or something like that, is a really nice addition to not just our population figures, but also to the skyline of Pine Harbour, which is a relatively it's kind of spread out with some of the taller buildings. So I think this addition really adds something. In an attempt to kind of make it look coherent, I'm using procedural objects to kind of merge in a clone of this office building. This is actually the shopping mall part of this complex, and I think that idea works out quite nicely, because this white and glass building is obviously much more commercial in its look than the red brick residential high rise. It's not a perfect setup to kind of mix and match like this, but I think it creates like a unique shape, and in the end this whole development does turn out to be a bit chunky, a bit of a thick boy, but I think it looks kind of cool, and it definitely sets the stage for further developments of further progressing with densifying Pine Harbour a bit more than currently, because the city is really quite low density, and that's a theme that we've constructed with a purpose, because it needs to be in contrast with the city of Port Douglas, which is obviously much higher density. But I also think that there's a bit of the discrepancy between the two cities now is just a little too big. The downtown area of Port Douglas looks like the downtown of a city with maybe 300,000 or 400,000 residents, while for Pine Harbour it's much less. So we're gonna continue having this obvious difference between the two cities, but I'm gonna just then to make Pine Harbour just a bit more dense moving forward, because I want to make it a little more bustling. It is a big city after all, or at least the idea is that it should be a big city. Now, of course, any good shopping mall with its grid should have some signs outside to kind of highlight the offerings inside, and so we're just adding some. I don't have the most impressive collection here in terms of assets, so I'll have to make do with what I've got. And speaking of assets, I know that asset and mod lists have been something that's been requested a ton of times, and I'm happy to announce that I've exported an XML file that I've uploaded that you guys can grab and use with the, what's it called? Load order tool or mod, I think it's called. And in combination, that mod and the XML should allow you to gain a full overview of all the mods and all the assets I use. There's a bit more in the description down below this video, as well as the necessary links. This particular corner here looks a bit awkward because the facade is completely unused, which I don't think makes sense given the location of the wall. So I'm sort of trying to grab this smaller apartment building and see if I can use procedural objects to make it look like it was built as part of this complex. There's a bit of a change here in the color palettes and the architectural style, which does stand out a bit, but I think the end result is actually kind of cool. And yeah, I love mix matching buildings and different structures with movie and procedural objects like this. And there's always, an argument for some of it not really looking all that realistic or looking a bit too random. But I'm really just focusing on sort of working with what I got, and also making sure that the procedural objects used in particular doesn't really go completely crazy, because it can definitely, I feel it can spiral out of control, and it can just consume all your time, because it's a mod that, if you become an advanced user of it, you can pretty much do anything you want. So I'm trying to make sure I don't attempt to go down that rabbit hole, which also means that I'm definitely not an expert in using it. It's always a little rough around the edges and a little basic, but I think I've kind of found a use for it where I don't feel that it steals all that much time, and I think that for the effort I put into it, the reward is sufficient. So I'm hoping I can stick to that moving forward. But yeah, I really respect the creators that can really harness the full powers of the procedural objects mod, because it's obviously really a crazy tool. As you guys can see, we're just moving, just adjusting this downtown roundabout just a bit to make for a bit more room for the development. And after just adjusting the roundabout, all that's left is basically to just detail up the full lot and the plaza that surrounds it. Initially, my plan was, and I know I say this every single time I detail up a single area, my plan was to not make it too detailed. But I think in the end, as you'll see, but I added quite a few details. Something I did do though was that I attempt to use the pathways and some of the curb networks that I have in order to use quite a few networks to achieve the look I want, instead of relying on decals and props, because I'm pretty sure that I'm more likely to hit the prop limit than I am to hit the network limit at this point in time. So you guys will see me use path networks and curb networks, planter networks to a large extent here, and then use node controller mod to adjust the nodes to give a more custom look. But I think with that said, I'll stop rambling for a bit now, and I'll turn up the volume on hopefully some juicy tunes, and can sit back and watch the detailing. All right, let's just take a quick look at what we've been building here. I think the development is about complete now. Yes, I mentioned I end up doing a little more detailing that I initially wanted to, but I think it's always fun to play with these networks in conjunction with the node controller in an attempt to create some, more fluid shapes than the rectangles that I feel somewhat restricted to when I use decals. And of course, an added benefit here is that I'm able to lower the decal and prop usage just a bit, which hopefully down the road will be a good decision, because I could hit some decal or prop limits in this series, of course, depending on how long it continues. But overall I'm pretty satisfied with the detailing we did do here. I think it looks a bit unique compared to some of the more regular type detailing I do around the region. This red brick path here from the vanilla game has become kind of a staple here in Conifera. We can see it being used here as well at the bus terminal, and yeah, just kind of I feel it fits kind of nicely. We've got a bit of a color theme actually. I'm using these red brick decals quite a bit, and our bus stops also have this kind of red or even a maroonish theme. I think if we can find another stop, yeah, we've got one here for instance. So there's a bit of a theme going on, which I quite like. Yeah, I played a bit about with the nodes, the end nodes here, made them thick boys to kind of create these more fun shapes rather than just have it be a little less experimental. And overall, I'm quite pleased. It really is quite the development for Pine Harbour. If we zoom out a bit, it sticks out just a bit, but I think one of the reasons it sticks out is, one thing of course is the density of this lot now, but it's also in relation to the surrounding urban landscape, and one thing that's for sure is I want to upgrade some of these, because for instance here we've got two gas stations basically right next to each other, and they are the lowest of densities. You will have 2 persons working here maybe to sell beverages and sandwiches to people filling up their cars. So it's the lowest of density we can have commercially. So I think I'm gonna raise maybe both of these actually, and then gonna switch it out with some more high density residential, and we'll see if I'll continue with some of the other lots. We've actually got a gas station here as well, although it's it's more of a smaller add-on to this warehouse type thingy, car repair shop maybe. But I think I'm gonna start out with just upgrading some of the density around Pine Harbour, and we're definitely gonna start in this area here. All right, let's see. So I guess a 4x4 here would be a good fit. And let's just change this up. So we've got Grobel and Rico here. Don't want to go too tall, that's for sure. But any change here is gonna be a positive change. Going from a low density commercial establishment to some of... Ooh, is this too modern? No, it's not. Can I shoehorn this in here? That is a question though. I think I can. Although this doesn't look all that well integrated actually. Can we flip it? Nah. I could PO it. I think I'm gonna do just that. So let's grab this one again. Just align it. Turn it into a procedural object. And let's see how we wanna think we're gonna do like this. Yoink. And we are just gonna use the start. It's the by far the easiest method I find to just quickly change the size of an asset, squeezing it together. So if we distort as such, then it actually looks quite alright. There you go. And we're just gonna let it sit for now. We're gonna add a block service. You guys know I like to use these because a procedural object, of course, doesn't really have any function anymore. So if we want people to actually spawn from this building or, you know, live in this building, we are gonna have to add a block service. So let's just think here's a fine spot. And I just noticed something. The second PO group, which is these windows, they didn't actually move because there are two groups, but if I'm lucky I should be able to align them. Let's see, something like this. I think this is good enough. There you go. I don't know why the mod does that, but glass panels of any sort usually become their own group, and I'm sure you can merge them to make it easier on yourself. But I mean, it wouldn't be an infrastructure video if there aren't something inefficient being done, right? And I think I'm just gonna go ahead and distort this building a bit as well, something like that. Cool. So we got our first corner here. Over here, I'm looking into doing the same. We'll remove this gas station. Yoink. And then we'll see if we've got something cool here. Something we haven't used before, preferably. This feels a little too big. Or does it? That would actually be a pretty good fit, I think. So I think we're gonna PO this as well. Just to make sure it looks alright. Okay, I'm gonna try something now, and it might end up looking ridiculous, so bear with me for just a second here. But I would like to squeeze it, or rather, I'm stretching now, of course. Not squeezing. Stretchy, stretchy. And over here as well. Just bring that back just a bit. Cool. And we've got some trees here, which we can just reuse because we care about the environment here. So we're gonna repurpose these trees. There you go. And I think I'm just gonna copy paste the same block service we had over here. Should probably be fitting for this building as well. We can just bring it up. There you go. And nice, that should add a bit of population. I've been doing some small changes to the intersections around this area, and I think we're gonna need to do the same over here. Basically, there's quite a bit of traffic here due to this road in particular being used by the buses after they leave the terminal here. And this setup here did actually help alleviate the traffic quite a bit. I've changed the, changed the setup a bit here so that we have a dedicated left instead of a dedicated right, because the traffic volume kind of made it clear that would be better. You might have seen me use this technique before, but I like to add, you know, just a bit of extra character to the roads by stretching. I can show it over here, but basically by stretching out the node and then adding a filler. But I think we're gonna do the same over here, so I'm just gonna create some additional nodes here. There you go, and we'll get one here. Then we'll grab this road once more, and we'll start upgrading like so, and like so. And then we'll just grab node control and we'll just click and remove markings, and click and remove markings here as well. And I'm just gonna make this a bit smaller. Something like that. Over here it's fine. Just gonna click here as well and remove the markings. Now, of course, the good thing is that since I've already created this layout with the intersection marking tool, I can go ahead and copy the markings, and I should be able to pretty confidently copy paste these markings in, and it seems that is also the case, which is perfect. There you go, and I should even be able to copy this, but what I'll do first is I'm gonna expand these nodes ever so slightly. So blue, green, and orange, I'm gonna expand to 105. There you go. Just make them a bit wider so that when I add the filler here, which is gonna be a bit thicker than these double solid lines, then due to the node being wider here, cars and trucks won't clip into the filler. They just about won't, at least, if all goes according to plan. And we'll do like this and just paste it around basically, and here as well. And I'm certainly gonna have to change the trees here. It changes to these default vanilla trees, unfortunately, when I mess with these roads, but I guess that's just how it is. Let's see if we can copy this and paste it without issue. No, but we can grab one of the thin lines here that I used, this one, and then we can sort of do these same very basic markings. Something like that. Cool. And it seems here I'd like a dedicated left turn instead of a right one, because there's definitely most traffic going left here as opposed to right. So this one will allow you to go straight and right, and this will be a dedicated left turn. For the rest, I think the current setup is it should be fine. With that in place, let's grab a final recap of what we've been doing. So I've been densifying, if you could say, these two corners here, adding this beautiful older building. Lots of bushes and flowers in here, really simple detailing. I think it fits pretty well with the procedural objects modifications I did. and of course adding our block service here. 40 households is probably okay, maybe it's a little too much. Over here we sort of did the same thing. Obviously this is a bit more of a modern development, and instead of going too heavy on the details, I just filled up with flowers and some basic planters, and I think it does the job. We had another gas station over here. Apparently I've just been placing them en masse here in Pine Harbour when I built the downtown core, but I removed that and expanded with these old row houses here instead. We have a few of these throughout Pine Harbour, but they're definitely more a feature that we see over in Port Douglas, but I'd like to incorporate just a few more of them in here in the core of the city. We've got just a few of them here and there. I think with that said, that kind of rounds up this episode. Was a fun one, and I think that the changes we made, although it was on a pretty limited area, it's kind of a small area, it really did help change this part of downtown Pine Harbour for the better. And of course, I'm actually pretty happy with how this big complex turned out, and I also think it sort of represents a shift in the attitude in Pine Harbour. It's not a city that's willing to just go still while Port Douglas keeps expanding with higher density. So there are some forces, at least in Pine Harbour, that calls for higher density developments, so it doesn't all just turn into uncontrollable sprawl, because as you guys can see, Pine Harbour is quite the sprawling city, and in the recent couple of episodes we've been making more and more sprawl, and we'll continue to do so. This is this inland area here I want to fill out eventually, so that should be very interesting. But there's nothing stopping us from also making the downtown area of Pine Harbour continuously more dense, and just overall getting the city bigger, basically. Yeah, so I think with that said, if you've stuck with me for this long, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate all the support. I'm looking into a period of time with probably a bit lower upload frequency. I'd say it have already started since late December probably, and it's it's just due to time constraints, unfortunately. But that's the reality. Have to balance this with other stuff, so I hope you guys understand. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to see even more coniferous stuff, I've got a Patreon where for $1 a month, $1 a month, you get early access to new episodes whenever possible, and I upload all the screenshots I take as well. So yeah, some small perks there. Thank you guys so much. I'll wrap this up with some hopefully juicy cinematics, and see you guys in the next one. Bye.